and I will be quiet and give it to you.
Thank you so much, Trudy. She is the best at warming up the crowd and welcoming everybody. There's nobody like Trudy. Anyway, I am your co-host today. I'm Suba Sadi. I'm a volunteer community ambassador with ARP here in Northern Virginia. I'm also retired military. I'm retired Air Force, but I love all the museums. I love the military museums. I've been to the Army Museum 5 times. I've been to the Marine Corps Museum 6 times. I got to catch up, Bert. I got to hit your museum one more time to make it equal. I've been to the Air Force Museum twice. There's a new Navy Museum opening up in DC, hopefully sometime next year or somewhere thereafter. So the museums are amazing. And even the World War II Museum in New Orleans. Anyway, from our earliest beginnings, ARP has championed lifelong learning. That's why ARP Virginia is thrilled to bring you our 5th year of Tuesday Explorers, a lifelong learning program offered every Tuesday from here through the end of April, but now we're going through May at 3 o'clock Eastern Time for curious explorers. For more than 60 years, ARP has been a wise friend and fierce defender, helping individuals to ensure that their money, health, and happiness live as long as they do. AARP has earned a reputation as a wise friend and fierce defender through trusted information, tools, and advocacy designed to protect the health and financial security of older Americans and empower them to choose how they live as they age. By promising to act as a wise friend and fierce defender, AARP is helping people who are 50 plus and their families feel confident in control and secure as they age. As a wise friend in your corner, ARP helps you protect yourself and your loved ones from fraud, get health and stay healthy, care for loved ones, make connections, plan a trip, learn new technologies, attend a class like you're doing today, and have fun like we're doing today with our Tuesday Explorers program. I hope you will continue to take advantage of these opportunities and more. So let me get to the main part and introduce our speaker for today. Today, we indeed have the privilege of introducing a remarkable leader and dedicated patriot. Retired Brigadier General Burt Thompson, the president of the Army Historical Foundation, has served our nation for over 30 years as a proud soldier. With extensive experience in both the military and private sectors, Burt brings unparalleled expertise and passion to his role. He is committed to preserving and presenting the history and heritage of the United States Army, ensuring that the stories of American soldiers are honored and remembered. Please join me in giving a warm virtual welcome to Burt Thompson. Burt, the floor is yours, sir.
All right, Suba, thank you. What an incredible introduction. And to Trudy, there's none better at kind of warming up the crowd. And Don, thanks for your support and your service to AARP as well. So I want to go ahead and advance the slide. If it does not advance, please tell me. And if my audio and visual is not good, let me know as well. Listen, I have a number of slides. A lot of them are picture slides because what we decided to do is, since some of you can't get here for various reasons, hopefully you will in the future get here. I wanted to bring the museum and talk a little bit about the foundation to you. There's a lot of exciting things going on here at the National Museum of the United States Army. With it being the 250th anniversary of the Army's birthday, 14th of June this year, and then the lead up to the 250th anniversary of our nation's birth in 2026. So there's a lot of buzz in DC. Most of you have heard the president's going to do his birthday parade, but that's really an Army parade celebrating the Army. And there's other services that also celebrate the same year, 1775, as the founding of their service. And we mentioned Navy. We've been working with the Navy as they develop their new museum. We're excited about that. As you know, every Army, every good Army needs a strong Navy. And so we're looking forward to that. So I'll get busy with the slides. There's going to be a lot of visuals in here, and that's purposeful. So you can kind of get a feel for it. Some of you may have been here, may not, but there's a lot of newness to this. So I'll just hit a few highlights and I'll zip through the slides. We always like to pride ourselves in being one museum, protect countless stories. This museum is not just a museum, although it is of 185,000 square feet of countless artifacts. It's more about using artifacts to illuminate, illustrate, and tell the special, unique stories of each soldier that served this country for over 250 years. And so our foundation mission continues in support of that. And we look forward to the bright future it has to hold for us. So there's a picture of the museum. I just talk about early origin because it is important. You know how the Army and bureaucracy works sometimes. So if you remember War of 1812, about 1814, just before the capital got sacked by the British, there was a directive, and the directive was to the Army of the time and the Navy. And what the Congress did is said, the 13th Congress had said, I want you to establish a repository in which we could store flags, implements of war. And then, of course, you understand what happened the rest of 1812. Well, the other services, they stepped off and they got their museum done. The Army chose a little bit different track. We did museums, art places for artifacts at camps, posts, and stations all over the world. So each organization you would be part of could typically have a museum. Example, 25th Division Schofield Barracks, Fort Hood, Infantry Museum at Fort Benning, and Fort Moore. And so it goes on. And so there was no National Army Museum. And so we were told to get it done. And so then the Secretary of the Army and the Chief of Staff of the Army were tasked to do that. Well, part of the process included in 1983 standing up the Army Historical Foundation, of which I am honored to be the president and CEO of that foundation. 30 souls who absolutely love what we do, and I'll talk a little bit about what exactly we do. But as a 501(c), we raise money, and we're the official fundraiser on behalf of the Army in support of the National Museum of the United States Army. And that's an interesting relationship because as a profit and loss, as a business that's nimble, I can make a lot of things happen. And so where it might take a while for the Army to get some things done, on behalf of the Army Museum, we can fundraise through our membership and beyond and get things done here. And I'll give you some examples of what that looks like. And so that's the foundation itself. Just a quick mission statement. I love it. It's easy. Preserve the heritage, educate the future. So what does that mean? We honor the heritage and preserve the heritage of the American soldier and the family, and then we educate the future, right? And to me, the future is important. What does that mean? Well, it's not a lot of older folks, although we honor them and their story. It's about youth of America. And most exciting day here in the museum is when we've got 600 to 1,000 to 1,200 kids roaming the halls. Learning about the United States Army and the importance of selfless service and support of something that's bigger than yourself. And it's interesting to watch the transformation of these young people who come here and learn about it. You see that transformation. And so we take our mission extremely seriously. As you'll see in this next slide, we do multiple events here throughout the year. Big ones are Memorial Day, Veterans Day, as you can imagine. And so what this is for Veterans Day, we're putting flags out. And so we have Civil Air Patrol, we have Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, you name it, right? Youth coming here to support the mission. And so that's one example. So you'll see in a lot of my photos, young people, and there's a reason for that. So being mission-minded, it's really important to us to engage. Who do you engage? Well, you're engaging the populace. You're engaging the world, quite honestly, about the United States Army of America. And you're educating. You're telling that story day in and day out through living artifacts, through inanimate objects sitting behind a glass case, through life-size cast figures that we do here, through living history, through celebrations out on the parade field. And you'll see some of those pictures in a minute. And it's our job to inspire, right? To promote the esprit de corps of the United States Army. And it's 7 critical and core values, which 31 years of service, 4 years in the military academy, I would like to think that the Army's values are the nation's values. The nation's values are the same as Army values. And you look at that, and that is true. I would hope that is true. And then, of course, honor the service and sacrifice of the American soldier, but not only American soldier, the family and the communities that support them. And then preserve what? Preserve their legacy for the future and for future generations. And shame on us as a country if we allow ourselves to have a divide between the very services that sacrifice and do the Lord's calling on behalf of this great nation. And so that's our job. And most services have a foundation like ours that do those types of things. And so here's another picture. We do several things, but this is youth, and this is on site here. We have 2 different libraries. The museum has one, and the foundation has one, and they're repositories of some incredible artifacts. We also do on point publication. We used to do 4 a year. Those 2 young men are looking at our own point, and we do that 4 times a year. And then we went to 2 times a year print, and 2 times virtual. And the cost of those are very, very expensive. And so on behalf, being good stewards of money on behalf of our membership, we went to virtual. What I love about the virtual, you put a lot more contact. Now, I know the content. I know a lot of folks love having a hard copy in front of them. So do I. So what we've decided to do is every year, we will do a special on point, and it'll be an on point on steroids, so to speak, probably 2 to 3 times the size that we typically do in publication. That is a very loved publication on point, and our team does an incredible job, but it is a lot of work. So anyway, it's very popular, and that gets out there in the hands of a lot of different folks. We do a lot of public service. And so what does that mean? If you came to me and said, Burt, my grandfather, my grandmother, whatever it was, served in the United States Army, in the Korean War, Vietnam, World War II, World War I would like to know more information. We do what's called public service inquiries. And so we do that. We have a team on hand that handles inquiries, and we do about anywhere from 350 to about 425 or so per year. And you would be stunned at some of the questions that these folks ask and some of the cool, unique stories that are out there. So that's a service that we provide on our website. You can start that process off, and we monitor that very carefully. And it's exciting stuff, and we learn a lot. We also have folks that ship boxes of stuff here. Burt, I don't know what to do with this. We took stuff that was meaningful as my grandfather's, my father's. I've taken pictures of it. Could you dispose of it as you see appropriate? And we do our best to ingest that into the Army family of artifacts. And so that happens almost every day. And so we, with great honor and pride, try to do our due diligence and honor that soldier or that individual who had that kit or gear or paperwork or pictures. And I'm telling you, it comes in volumes. And so we also have a lot of online at armyhistory.org. And I encourage all of you, if you've not been on it, to go on there and explore. You could spend the rest of your days of your life kind of exploring some of the stuff that we have on our website. And it's exciting, it's fun, and it's constantly being updated and changed based on what we're doing. And of course, 250 Army this year, 250 of the nation next year is a big push. So I'd encourage you to go in there and explore. Just click till your heart's content. I think you'll be satisfied. Educational program is a key part of this if we're going to educate the future. And so we do what most folks would call staff rides. We've called them battle rides. It's interchangeable. It goes back in history of our Army, where you take a select group of individuals, you visit a site, a location, and you talk about what happened, what didn't happen, understanding the nature of the environment, nature of the battlefield, nature of the opponent, and it helps bring it alive. And we've done various of these in the 2 years that I've been here. Brandywine Battlefield up in Pennsylvania. We went to West Point. We went to the American Revolutionary Museum in Philadelphia. We've done a Normandy staff ride in Normandy, France for the 80th. As a matter of fact, we jumped in the 80th as part of a reenactment group. And so we try to bring this as much as we can alive. And we've done Spotsylvania Courthouse. We also do educational program. For example, for the 80th anniversary of D-Day, we took World War II weapon systems out to a range in West Virginia and had the opportunity to fire those, to include the machine gun, Browning automatic rifle, the carbine, the M1 Garand. And it was very exciting. About 30 individuals got to experience that. We fired thousands upon thousands of rounds. We're going to do the same thing, all eras, weapon shoot, from black powder rifle all the way up to current times in 2026 in celebration of the nation's birth. So we're always doing something like that, depending on what your interests are and what you really want to do. And so it's a lot of fun doing all those, and it keeps us extremely busy. There's the entrance to the museum. One of the first things you're going to notice about it is it's stainless steel. Why in God's creation would we get a building and build it for the Army that's so industrial? Well, there's more than meets the eye. As you walk up on this 85-acre campus, up on the high ground on the bluff to get up to the museum itself, you'll notice an 8.5-acre, and I'll show you in a picture in a minute, 8.5-acre parade field. But beyond that parade field is the entrance to the museum. Stainless steel for a reason. Stainless steel aviation grade quality is reflective. What is it reflective of? It's reflective of the United States Army and the society in which we serve. Your Army is society. The society in America is your Army, and we're a reflection of that. We're also a land force, and we chose stainless steel because what it does is reflects the nature, the ground, which is what we are. And then this changes literally hourly every day. The morning sun hitting it, the evening sun, the seasonal changes. The building is gorgeous. And so the National Museum timeline, I won't go into a lot of details on this because you're going to see a series of slides, overhead shots of this. But this is a long journey. 1983, we founded the foundation itself. And in between 83 and 2001, we looked at 64 different sites. Where do you want to put the museum? The Navy's going through this right now, and they've selected a site. Site matters. Geography matters. And if you look at the next picture when I show you, you'll see that little bluff I was talking about. But what we did is we finally got approval to do this. In 2016, we cut the trees down. We got money out of it because we sold them. 2017 started building it, laid concrete, and we had a notice approved to proceed. 11 November of 2020, we opened the museum. Most of you know what happens shortly after, right? COVID. So we hit 25% capacity. That killed us. We were looking for a grand opening, and we were looking at having mass numbers come through. We had to work through that. And in some ways, not as an excuse, but we're still recovering from that limitation that was resulted from COVID. But the word is getting out. We had to pay the foundation on behalf of the Army about $4 million to move multiple golf holes on the Fort Belvoir golf course, which you see in that photograph. So if you look at the top of that photograph, you'll see the 4 holes that we had to move. And that was part of the deal, and we were willing to do it. And you see all those trees in that photograph, right? All those had to be removed, at least a good swath of those, about right dead center, surrounding both the golf course and just to the bottom of the screen there. And so there were a lot of trees, and we got some cool videos of that being done. Well, I golf, and I used to be on the golf course watching the phoenix rise from the ashes, this building. And it was an incredible experience. We were all wondering, what in God's creation is that? And it was one heck of a project. Well, the end result is what you see here. There's the campus. So the building you see in front of you is about 185,000 square feet. If you look at the building to the left in the largest kind of rectangular area, that is the exhibit space. Not that there's not exhibits in other parts of it. And there's experiential learning to the right. There's office admin buildings to the right. There's a cafe to the right. You'll see the inside of it in a minute. Plenty of parking. That field to the center there, it looks like a racetrack around it. That's called the Warrior Field and Plaza. And that represents 8.5 acres. So you can imagine the size and scale of this campus at 85 acres. It sits up on a bluff, as you can tell there, which we strategically wanted. Army sees as high ground and secures high ground. Your National Museum, United States Army, is on the high ground. And then you'll see an overhead there at the parade field. That field will hold everything. That track will hold everything but an M1 Abrams tank at about 72 tons. But it'll hold just about everything else that we have. On that campus, which you'll see in a minute, are bricks, trees, benches that individuals can purchase to honor their loved ones or soldiers. And you'll see more of that in a close-up view. There's your aerial view, and you can tell it's pretty big. So guess what, people? If you come here, you're going to earn your way. You're going to park, and you're going to have a little bit of a walk. We purposely did that. The Army is on ground force. You got to move to get there. And so we want your bodies in motion. Now, if you're limited mobility, we've got golf courts. We can move you in. We got the wheelchairs and stuff because we want it accessible to everybody. But we also want you to enjoy the promenade walk forward. It is absolutely landscape gorgeous. So moving along to give you a little bit closer view of it, there's Warrior Plaza and Field, a very special place in which we do Army birthday celebrations on the 14th of June every year. That's important to us because the Golden Knights jump in. We do food trucks. We have little kids' bouncy houses. You name it, we can do it out here. And I love watching this place come alive with Americans, human beings here, enjoying the history, enjoying the sight and the sounds of the National Museum of the United States Army. And so it's exciting and it's a beautiful place. This was funded by part with the state of Virginia, Fairfax County, with a grant of $5 million, which we greatly appreciate. And we put it to good use and did a beautiful ceremony in their honor for supporting us. Another view looking at the museum from the parade ground. Just to the left of that picture is a time capsule that'll be opened up in about 20 years. We got to put some pretty unique artifacts in there. But again, what you see there is the stairs that go up into the main upper parade ground, the Warrior Plaza and Field. If you were walking on that, you would see bricks that are inscribed with countless soldiers' names, family member names. Again, you can tell the place is seasonally gorgeous. Now you're standing up on the upper parade ground looking. You see the benches, you see the trees. And again, the thoughtfulness of the landscape and the design of this place and the coloring, we didn't skimp. We decided not to use staccato bricks, the reddish bricks. We actually used granite. So everything we have here was top scale. One reason it probably cost so much, but we wanted it classy. So why is this place important? Well, to me, it's about stories. This gentleman I met, I'd been here about 6 months, World War II veteran. Where he's at, you can't tell, but he's in an assisted mobility device, call that a wheelchair. because he wanted to get around and he wanted to see as much as he could. This is his last visit to the museum. And so his family dedicated a brick, and at the base of his feet is a brick, and there's other photos. And what a kind soul, what a great human being. And the stories he told, countless soldier stories are told here. And I got another picture for you. Here's another example of just that. The family brought by surprise this World War II veteran's brick. He's pointing down at his brick. And it's for the simple want of a brick inscribed with your name forever. It's transforming in these gentlemen's, these soldiers' lives, whether male, female, doesn't matter what era in which they served. And so this is an important part of what we do. And so, yeah, you can buy a brick, you can buy a unit tribute, you can buy a tree, you can buy a bench. I'll sell you a blade of grass because of what it does and enables us to do on behalf of our Army. Lots of ways you can serve and give. General donations are always good. Historical Foundation memberships, commemorative bricks is what we call these. We got a lifetime membership called 1814 Society, and now you know why 1814 is important. And that's when we were directed to open up this museum. Circles of distinction, planned giving, you name it, we do it, and we facilitate human beings supporting the soldier story at the National Museum of the United States Army. And so that's a pretty cool story, and I got to meet him, and this happens every single day at your museum. There's an example of the bricks. We call them pavers. Those are made out of granite and inscribed. We have a company down in Southern Virginia that does this, and they do a phenomenal job. Also in there, you'll see on the top right there some other bricks, sizes of bricks, different types of bricks. What you see that are black there or rectangular unit tributes, we call them. Every unit in the United States Army that ever served on the rolls in the Army as an official capacity are allowed to have a unit tribute. Those are $5,000, and it provides, like the 82nd Airborne Division, the 10th Mountain Division, anybody, any unit that served on the rolls, to do a fundraising and then to put their name on the promenade in a unit tribute. They are extremely popular, and we do unit tribute unveilings here daily. There's a good example of them along the wall. Somebody asked me not too long ago, General Thompson, when you run out of places to put unit tributes, what are you going to do? Well, we're not going to run out. I'll build a new wall. I can build a new wall all day long. These are extremely popular. One of the coolest ones since I served in the 75th Ranger Regiment in my younger days, it was the unveiling of the 75th Ranger Regiment unit tribute. We had 200 Rangers from World War II to current day here at this place and did their unveiling. And I'm telling you, it's an emotional event. Who cares? Well, everybody cares. The individuals participating care, and those who get to watch that ceremony that have no clue what they're doing, but they need to see the timeless traditions, the honor, the sacrifice, the ability to talk about, to heal. And this place allows that to occur with a simple thing like a unit tribute. And it's really, really special, especially on the beautiful campus that we have here. So we also have something called unit registries, and this is where I put my first plug in for AARP. And I thought Suba's intro was incredible, what it does as an organization on behalf of those who serve. And so, I mean, a special thanks for AARP and our partners for what they do for public service announcements, promoting the foundation, promoting the museum and their magazine. And so I think it's important partnership. So I stop time anytime Suba or Trudy or anybody says, hey, Burt, can you support the effort? Because I think it's important. And thanks for that. Thank all of you, because you are AARP as the members. And so we have a soldier registry here. You can do it online, you can do it in person. If you've ever served in the United States Army, you need to be in that registry. And so it's interesting where people come in here and they'll go in the database. You can do it here with touch screens, and they'll find their father or their grandfather. And it's just a cool way, multi-generationally, to check, and kind of connect. And I love it. And so we're very active at promoting that. All right, so let's get into the museum, Burt. You've talked about that. Let's get in there. The unique thing about our museum is the fact that when you come to this museum and you approach the museum, you're going to see these stainless steel pillars. And these pillars are important because they're unique soldier stories. And you're escorted by these pillars, and then you're greeted by a platoon inside. Now I want to show you the floor plan. So that doesn't mean much to you, but really when you look at the amber color, the orangish color, reddish color, pinkish color there, peach colored, that's the exhibit space, 7 key exhibit spaces. The rest of those to the right, the bottom right, experiential learning, a theater that we have, a cafe that we have. But I'm going to focus you in on some of those exhibit areas, and you're going to see the entrance. So that's the lobby. and it's massive. And so that's a granite wall. Inscribed in that are the 190 campaigns your United States Army has officially participated in over 250-year history. And it's absolutely gorgeous. Notice, folks, at the bottom, what do you notice? Well, it's empty. There's space down there. Well, we hope that we don't inscribe more battles and more campaigns, but likely, based on history, the ebb and flow of history, we probably will. And so we left space down there. But this is where we do all our major events. You can put 300 or 400 people in here, 5-star meal. We have a liquor license. You can set up a bar. It's absolutely gorgeous when we do our events in here. That's the main center of gravity. This is one of our docents. We call them docents. They're volunteers. 98 or 96% of them are veterans of some shape, form, or fashion, not necessarily all Army. We simply could not do our mission here without our volunteers. Countless people hours in support of this. Look who he's surrounded by on the Army's emblem. Youth, the future of America. And our docents are incredible. I call them national treasures, and I'm glad they're here. Inside there is 990 campaigns I've mentioned. These are glass panels that are in the ceiling. And again, we can control the lighting of this. Absolutely gorgeous. And each one of our campaigns are represented by the gas pillar in the ceiling. That ceiling is about 25, almost 30 feet tall. And of course, above that is sacred ground. That's our Medal of Honor garden. There's a big view of it, 25-foot Army emblem there. You see the podium there because we do all sorts of events there. Behind that is the cafe. The best way through a soldier's heart is through his stomach. And so we have an incredible cafe, and we can feed a lot of folks very good quality meals. There's a COD wall. We call it the COD wall, Circle of Distinction. At the top, $42 million donor, Association of the United States Army. Think about that for a minute. $42 million. 1-star level at the bottom gets you on the wall at 50,000. It works its way up in increments to the 5-star level. We simply would not exist without human beings like those represented on this wall that represents many of you that contributed to this museum. And I thank God for each one of you who have and continue to support. And so it's important for us at the foundation to recognize these human beings and these organizations that have supported us. You'll notice to the left of that old sign that says Museum Store. That's important. I run the retail, I run the cafe, and then I run what's called the Army Action Center. Think virtual reality. So that's kind of exciting for us. So here it is again. These are honor flights where veterans from all wars come here. And what I love is when American soldiers are here and they get to connect and you get to see the generational magic that occurs between multiple generations of soldiers. And that's here in the campaign hall. And so again, this happens daily, routinely. And we love when the honor flights come in. Very soon, Memorial Day, we're going to have what's called Roll to the Wall. So we'll have 460 or so Harley-Davidson motorcycles parked in our parking lot, and they'll come in here and do a great ceremony, provide me with a big fat check, which will go back into the product called the National Museum of the United States Army. But it'll be a chance for them to memorialize and support. Then they'll roll to the wall. That would be the Vietnam Memorial Wall, and support a bunch of celebrations down there. So that's always an exciting time of the year. Well, we can transform this. This is an example of a stand-up party that we do, and it's beautiful. And you see the pylons are lit, soldier stories. You see the platoon of pylons back here in the back. And then you see a stand-up event. Again, beautiful events here. And then you see where our entrance desk turns into a bar. Experiential Learning Center is pretty awesome. Kids can learn about center of gravity, weight, load distribution. They can fly, if they wanted to, a UAV virtually, and then they can do all sorts of learning educational stuff. This is very popular for kids, for corporate America who wants to come do leader development. We keep our kids busy, and it's all interactive, and that's what we love about it. Transition on into the Soldiers Gallery. A platoon of pylons meet you, telling endless, timeless soldier stories, and we think they're special. Here's an example of a family looking at a Tuskegee Airman and his history, and they continue on. On the backside of that platoon of stories is a soldier, a creed that's on the wall there and lit up. You subliminally see it, and sometimes in your face see it. The last 6 pillars rotate every 30 seconds with new soldier stories. So it's just not engraved and enamored forever. It also changes, so we can tell more and more stories. You get in our soldier registry, we'll tell your story. You get into the Army Concourse and you keep on moving and you go to the left. And the way the exhibit space works here is that from left to right, chronologically, you start with Forging of the Nation. We go all the way back to 1607. Most of you know your history, so that's Jamestown. The oldest artifact is a rapier, which is a straight-edged sword from Jamestown. And then, of course, Burt, 1776, 1775. Yep, roger that. But we can trace it back to militia well before that time. 1607 is what we trace it back to. And so you'll see those exhibits, and there's transitional exhibits in between each major exhibit. And I'll show you some of those. Here's another view, right, that shows you. Again, it's cavernous. This place is huge. We purposely did that because we want you to have sensory overload. We want you to walk into a cavernous, dark place, and it gets really busy on you. As our country has gotten in this volatile, uncertain, and crazy world we live in, so too do the artifacts lean into that. Everywhere you go, touchscreens, technology. Kids love technology. So you cannot, I challenge you, you cannot get lost in our museum. If you do, it's because you don't know how to use a touchscreen or ask a volunteer how to find your way. It's not about soldiers, it's about animals. And we all know mules, horses, you'll see those in here as well. And so that story is also told. What you're looking at there is Army and Society, one of my favorite exhibit space, that kind of nexus and that symbiotic relationship between our Army and society in which we serve, and the complexities of that relationship throughout our history. It's not all easy, right? We don't like standing armies. We don't like big armies. They're expensive. It's scary, right? And you all know, because you know your history, where that's been a bit challenging, but absolutely essential to have a ready and relevant and lethal army. Just a few artifacts to give you a snip, and I'll fly through these a little quick, but give you an idea. That's Humvee #1. That replaced the Willys Jeep for us. When I came in the Army, I remember this day when it came on board. That's the first one off the assembly line. We have it here. It's called Humvee #1. Here's our theater. It's about a 320-degree surround. We do it's called For Noble Deeds, named after 20th Maine, Joshua Chamberlain. 13-minute video is absolutely incredible. If it doesn't send chills down your spine, and I've seen many a veteran walk out of here with tears in their eyes, because this place is a place of memories, a place of reflection, a place of healing, sometimes a place of mourning, where you're thinking about your service and those buddies that maybe you had lost, or what family members that you had lost, or as a family member, sacrifices that your family had to make in support of this nation. And this is a powerful video. At some point, maybe it's worth showing in one of these. So now you're founding the nation, building blocks of an army. We had to start from scratch. And so this is where it begins, founding a nation gallery. Most of our galleries, you turn left, go clockwise from left to right chronologically, and this one is no different. There's certain themes throughout all the artifacts, and those themes go from medical to artillery to engineering to movement, logistics, you name it, to build the building blocks of an army. And this is where it starts with Forging of America. And again, Knox going across the frozen lakes to get to the outskirts of Boston, for the besiegement of Boston. Again, countless stories happen here in the exhibits. And there's a bit picture of that in an example. Priceless artifacts. We had a captain who was at Fort McHenry during the War of 1812. We know that he held this saber in his hands. Incredible when you think about it. We've got Grant's Kepi hat. So when you walk through this museum, it's through every era in which your army has served. And again, a continuation of the Forging the Gallery, Forging the Nation galleries. And I love that. Move into preserving the nation. Think Civil War. Think brother against brother, divided loyalties. And we got through this, and it was tough post Civil War. And so you see a lot of exhibits. These are live cast figures that you see pictures of. Live cast means they were cast out of after a living human being. And so when we're building the museum, we have 70 figures, 67 live cast, 3 not. Orville Wright, the first lieutenant, Army lieutenant, killed in an aviation mishap on the Wright Flyer, in which we have a replica here. And then one of the American Revolution soldiers, because we couldn't find somebody of small enough stature to fit into uniforms, but the rest of them are cast after living soldiers. Cool stories associated with that. And as we continue on, there we go. That's Grant's Kepi hat. It's a church there where you can actually sit down if you want to take a little bit of a break, learn about Civil War strategy. And again, everywhere you look are American soldiers of some shape, form, or fashion in some era of war. Global war, largest. Each one of our exhibits is based on the size, scope, commitment of America and society to that war effort. Think spilled blood. Think national treasure. This is the biggest one, Global War. Absolutely gorgeous. Burt, I see a Navy boat in there. No, you don't. That's the landing craft vehicle personnel. And so that was used in World War II. That particular LVCP was used in Normandy, an SPA-13 troop transport ship with an infantry squad coming down the cargo net into the LVCP. Well, Burt, it's a boat. It must be Navy. Nope. It is crewed by the United States Coast Guard. And so we made a concession in the Army Museum, no Navy boats. We let Coast Guard in there. And so we did. Funny story, but it's a little bit of that awesome Army-Navy rivalry. That tank you see there is a Sherman tank, and that's called Cobra King. So if you remember the breakout of Bastogne, where the 101st was surrounded and Patton came through and broke through, that was the lead tank first into Bastogne. That is one of the priceless artifacts we have here. And so this is a continuation and close up. There's PA-13. Again, videos on the walls, immersive stuff, touch it, feel it. It's all there. These live, now remember, these are live casts. These are life-size cast figures climbing on that wall. So you can imagine the scope and scale. Pictures do not do it justice. Me being an infantryman, I stuck a bunch of pictures in here because I can. And there they are. I was an infantryman. There is Cobra King, first into Bastogne. It sat outside of Vilsec, rusting away. Historian saw it, did a serial number trace through the Center of Military History and said, holy smokes, you know what this tank is? Army refurbished it, and now we have it here. Beautiful artifact. And there's a young man that just came full decked out, World War II regalia. And that's one of our docents, and he absolutely loved it. Knew more about history than most of my docents, this young man. It was an incredible experience. And that's the Cobra King. And moving right along. And this is entering in the Korean Wars. This is Cold War Gallery. Most of you probably served in that in some shape, form, or fashion. I certainly did at the tail end of the Cold War. And of course, I was not born until 62, but this is the Korean War side. To the right side is the Vietnam side. And so that story is again told through the Cold War eyes and lens, the advancement of technology, the advancement of weapon systems. It's all laid out here. Then there's a Vietnam piece, which is on the right side of that gallery, Yadring Valley. Yadring Valley, if you remember that, the engagement with Hal Moore, Air Mobile Ops, and the tribute there. And it's an absolutely beautiful exhibit as well. Changing world. That's where we're at now, folks. Changing world. It's constantly changing. It is very dynamic. And it's very uncertain. This exhibit space is very busy and gets at that. One of the cool artifacts we have is this is A Troop. 3rd to the 7th Cavalry Squadron. So if you remember in 2003, when we started doing the surge into Baghdad, this was a lead assault vehicle. Clay Lau, Captain, United States Army, good friend of mine, used to work for me. He was a troop commander. And so he comes in every once in a while and tells a story. He helped outfit this to look exactly like the one that he had. That was one of his vehicles. And so again, we have the luxury of having these folks alive to tell those timeless stories. And as we continue on, there's IED, there's some really vivid video, unfettered, so you get the nice, kind of colorful language. But this is where a lot of, I will call GWAT soldiers, those who have been involved for 14, 15 years of a counterinsurgency, struggle. They come in here and there's examples of IED. Some have to just leave. They cannot stand this. It's too emotional for them. And I've gone through that myself with visitors that I've had here. The next picture here is one of the priceless artifacts. If you remember Super 6-1, that was a Black Hawk for a Black Hawk Down. Remember the recipient, Sukart and Gordon of the Medal of Honor. We've got one of the UH-60 engines here on display. Lots of space here to do stuff. This is Veterans Hall. We do all sorts of experiential learning, adult education. We do weddings, ceremonies, celebrations of life. And this is one of the many spaces that we have to do just that. And it just shows you the different configuration of using those spaces. In there, VFW, Medal Order, the Military Order of a Purple Heart, those who want to contribute to these spaces, get their name emblazoned on the wall there. And that's what that one's articulating. And then we do all sorts of stuff, painting seminars. We do a genealogy seminar where folks want to trace their military history. Yeah, Ancestry or 123me.com, all that stuff. But this is military genealogy. And we've got some experts that help with that. Medal of Honor experience is very powerful here. To be a recipient of the Medal of Honor, it happens in the White House. You move to the Pentagon and you end up here where we emblaze your name in marble. In this particular picture, you see that wall just to the left. Forever. And there are some of the most beautiful, honorable ceremonies, as they should be, done here at the National Museum of the United States Army, where their names, these recipients' names, are etched forevermore and honored here on the grounds and campus. So what are we doing? We're up to an awful lot right now, and I'm keeping an eye on time because we want to leave questions and answer, and we're right on time. So what are we doing? We're commemorating the Army and the nation's 250th, and we're doing that in a lot of different ways. But it's important that we celebrate that. And so the America's semi-quintennial is picking up steam here, as most of you know. And so I didn't put that one red star up there because I'm a one star, but that's pretty cool. I like that. But it's the star of the nation, your Army, right? 250th is coming. We're trying to get everybody excited about that and to celebrate it. Got a lot of upcoming events. I won't read all of this, but the first time ever, 6.14. Why is it 6.14 mile run? Because June 6th, right? And if you look at it, we celebrate it on the 14th. Right, or the sixth month of June on the 14th. And so we're going to do a 6.14 mile run. And we're going to start doing that every year. This whole focus on the American Revolution is called Arms, a Soldier, and the Revolutionary War. So we want to celebrate our history and celebrate the birth of our nation. And then in July, we're doing America's Revolutionary Road. We're going to actually go up to Lexington and Concord up in Boston and do a staff ride. That's on our website. If anybody's interested in doing that or meeting us, that's going to be an epic event. We know how to do staff rides. And then in May, we're doing a symposium here. Our symposiums are top authors who come in. We do some living history stuff. So again, the real purpose of this is to show you how much we get involved in and what we do. There's a new exhibit coming, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but it's going to open the weekend of June 7th. And we will open the exhibit space on June 6th, and that's 5,200 additional square feet of American Revolutionary artifacts, to include Cornwallis's surrender sword will be here. And so we are so excited as we push to the final objective of getting that done, and we're almost ready. So if you come here after the 6th of June, you're going to get to see 5,200 additional square feet of American Revolutionary priceless artifacts. And we're going to have a lot of opening weekend activities and events. And then here's just some examples of some of the artifacts that will be here. We're going to bring it all together. One of the rarest collection of American English and French objects that we've had in one place at one time. And I can tell you it's going to be memorable. Highly encourage you to do it. And in the future, if anybody wants to do a Tuesday kind of explorers on just that, with tour of that portion, I'd be more than happy and willing to do it. We got one other thing, and it's interesting because AARP has helped us with this. And this is I Am an American Soldier, the Nisei. Some Japanese Americans that served in World War II. And if you recall, not a colorful day, not a very happy day, I think, when you look back at our history in which we interred family members of Japanese American soldiers that served honorably in our nation. 442nd Regimental Combat Team, 100th Battalion, the MIS, Military Intelligence Service. Well, we want to tell their stories. We're going to do it with the first ever United States Army Museum traveling exhibit of 5 years. We are stoked to do this. It'll travel to 12 different locations all over the United States, telling the countless timeless stories. And so AARP has supported this with the exhibit, sponsorship and helping us get through it and get the word out. We're excited about that and appreciate all the help that we've had. We can't wait until this hits the road. We started a seedling of this with exhibits, and Japanese Americans are very, culturally are very humble. And so finding some of those artifacts and getting those was a little bit difficult. But once they understood the importance of this and the fact that we're trying to honor that part of our history because it's important and must be told, they came out of the woodworks to support it. And we're so excited for that. All right, we're getting close to the end. But that's the Medal of Honor. I just wanted to show you a little bit closer look at the Medal of Honor wall. I wish you could be here for one of those ceremonies. This is one of the most beautiful spaces, honorable spaces in the museum. And so you're probably wondering what's next as we close out here. We've got a project of $5.1 million I'm working on right now. It's called the Soldier Memorial Garden, and it's to honor the soldiers and the family members. Concentric V's pointing to the high ground, 3-degree rise and slope, 7 huge granite rocks there with the 7 Army values, a pair of boots, a weapon, and a helmet. A place in which soldiers and families can go reflect, can memorialize, and could think about those who served, maybe perhaps their own service, or those who were lost in support of our nation's objectives. And it's going to be a place I think that people are really going to enjoy. When we talk to a lot of visitors that come here, hey, well, why is there not a dedicated place in which I could just sit down and reflect? Well, guess what, folks? We got one coming, and I'm excited about it as we're in full-fledged fundraising for that. Side views of that space, again, tying it into the terrain here, absolutely gorgeous. And we're looking forward to an opportunity to get that going. So I will stop there. And I just want to thank you for your time. I know I go fast, but there's so much to cover. If you hadn't picked up on it, I'm a passionate human being. I believe in what I'm doing and what we do as a team. That picture you see right there, it says, thank you for your time. That's in the evening. Usually when I leave here, it's dark. But again, reflective. Look at the reflection of the stainless steel building. This place is absolutely gorgeous. I think if you had the opportunity to visit here, and if you don't, I can continue to help bring it to you. Just reach out to us. I think you would be proud of your Army. I think you'd be proud of your nation. In fact, that we took a grounds like this, 85 acres, and turned it into an absolutely beautiful tribute to the American soldier, to their families, and to the nation in which we serve. So I'll stop there. I hope I'm on timeline. I think I am. I'll stop there before I progress to the last slide, which is an AARP slide. So I'll stop. Suba, you want to do questions, comments? Hopefully you're still with me.
Oh yeah, I'm here with you, Burt, and Trudy will take care of the Q&As.
Okay.
Bert, we did have one question. One of our guests seems to recall that there was another smaller Army museum before this one was built. Is that correct?
Great question, Trudy. But there are actually many Army museums, and that's one of the challenges. In every camp, post, and station, I can name almost every military installation has a museum of some shape, form, or fashion. The Army has a consortium of museums, and it's run by the Center of Military History that reports to Training and Doctrine Command, TRADOC. And then our museum is a Tier 1 museum, which means it's the number one. It's the one that will be protected, will be funded no matter what. And so that question is correct. There are smaller museums that are out there. As a matter of fact, Fort Belvoir has what's called the Museum Support Center. Fort Belvoir, not even 3 miles from here, 4 miles from here, if that, has some of the most priceless artifacts on the face of this earth that represent 250 years of Army history. But if you were to go to Schofield Barracks, you were to go to Fort Moore, Fort Benning, Fort Bragg, wherever, you would see a museum, whether it's Aviation Museum, Armor Museum, Infantry Museum. And so again, this is the only one that has the title National Museum of the United States Army, because there's only one, mandated by Congress and approved by the United States Army.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you. Is there any reference to the Army of the Confederacy in the museum?
Another great question. So yes, there is. And again, that's in Building the Nation Gallery. That's you go from American Revolution into the American Civil War. Now, I think we all know in living our history that the victors get to tell the final story. That's not untrue. But yes, we talk about both sides of that, brother against brother. We also talk about the transitional period from the American Revolution as we expand west. And then, of course, the Civil War. And so if you recall, Grant and Lee are fighting each other or fighting with each other, against the Mexicans, brother and brother. And again, American Revolution, brother against brother. And so that story is told here clearly, but certainly you'll see a leaning towards the victors. All right. There's no doubt about that. But yes, it is told because, again, we're not in the business of filtering out our history. We're in the business of telling our history, really unchanged. And it has to be that way. And so when I talk about diversity in our Army, and I'm going to talk about diversity in our Army because our Army is diverse, because our nation is diverse, and that timeless stories, timeless individuals who supported that. And so Nisei soldiers are talked about here, like I mentioned, Japanese American soldiers. We have exhibits for the Buffalo soldiers. We talk about Wounded Knee. We talk about all that period of history that's not so glorious and glamorous as we're doing expansion west and moving Indians into an even tighter and tighter American Indians, tighter space geography wise. So there's not all good stories that we've had. But you know what? It's our history. Our history has to be told, and we have to, no kidding, not just note the lessons from it, we must learn from it.
Exactly. Very good. Also a question, is the Army Air Corps included?
Oh, God, yes. Now, do we have a P-47? No. P-38? No. P-51? All my favorite aircraft in the world? No. C-47, although I've jumped out of a war to C-47. But yes, we do have artifacts. I get a lot of those questions. Trudy, to be honest with you, they'll say, hey, Burt, we don't see a lot on the Tuskegee Airmen. Well, no, you don't. But we have artifacts on that. We don't see a lot about China, Burma, India. Well, it's here. right? And again, you'll have artifacts with that. And for example, we do have Billy Mitchell's Mae West. So if you remember the Tokyo Raiders, well, guess what? We've got that. We've got artifacts that represent all the segments and sectors of our history. But would you expect to see a lot more than that just on Tuskegee? No, you wouldn't. Or you pick the subject. We have to spread that wealth across. Now, I'll be honest with you. What happens in this museum is based on scope and scale and commitment to the effort. Think global war, think World War II. And so, yes, that exhibit space is the largest space. When you look at, let's just call it urgent fury, right? Or perhaps just cause. Those are small. Why? Small scale, short duration. But World War I, World War II, Civil War, and even American Rev in comparison is a little bit smaller. And so it is based on scope, scale, national treasure, commitment, loss of blood, and again, duration. And so I think that's a fair way to do it here. Folks will come in and say, well, Burt, I didn't see, X, you name it. I didn't see a helicopter. Well, follow me. We have helicopters. You got to look up, people. They're in the roof where airplanes typically are. So hopefully that answers your question. So, will it be perfect for everybody? Perhaps not. Is it representative of our Army and our story that we're being told? Yes. Of recent, I maybe shouldn't talk about it, but I will. With the Doge and everything that's going on, folks came in and said, well, should the artifacts be changed? Should the history be changed? And we said, no. History needs to be told. It is what it is. And we followed the guidance as required. We didn't change anything. And I don't think we need to, right? Because again, it's our timeless story. It's the American story.
Absolutely. We have one guest in the audience who says her mother bought a brick for her father. Would that brick be located here?
Yes, if it was purchased through our website or in support of the museum, when we stood the museum up and did our major fundraising to raise money to build this place, it would be here. And again, you can feel free to share my contact info. You can also send us a note on the website, armyhistory.org. There is a brick locator in there. And so if you've got a brick and you think it was the National Museum of the United States Army where that brick was laid into the ground, then you can find that brick. If you have any issues, you can send us a note and we'll help you find it. We have a brick locator. We had Esri, which is a entity that came in with drones and flew every inch of the space and identified and mapped every brick we have. Now that constantly gets updated because we have every 6 months put anywhere from 300 to 500 bricks, more additional bricks into the ground. It's a constant fundraising campaign for us. It's very popular. So yes, if it was purchased and you have the name of the individual in the brick, we can find it.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
At the top of the program, you talked about the battle ride. How would one find out more information about the battle rides?
Great question. And so armyhistory.org, go to our website, and then you'll click along there, do some research in there, and you'll find it. It talks about our events and programs. And so it's listed in there. That particular battle ride is interesting because we're using a little bit different format. And we got this feedback from folks who attend our battle rides. And so what happened, Trudy, is folks said, hey, Burt, what if I live geographically separate, but I don't want to come to the museum and branch out from there? Why don't we go to the site? Lexington, Concord, Boston. So what we're doing is folks meet there in Boston and we take care of everything else associated with the battle ride from there. And again, each one of them is slightly different depending on where we're going. And in the future, I've got one where I want to go to Wounded Knee. I mean, it's countless, endless where you can go, but that's how this one's done. So I would, to answer your question, armyhistory.org. If you get on there, you'll find it. If not, there is also an email address. Mine's in there. You can send a note directly to me and I'll make sure you get the information that you want.
Great. Thank you. I
Yes.
mentioned at the top in my crowd warm up that it says easy exit onto the program or onto the grounds from I-95 north or south. Can you give us the exact address of the museum, and can you tell us about how the timed tickets work?
Okay, that's another great question because it's caused a little bit of confusion, to be honest with you. So when COVID hit, I'll reverse my way and back my way into that question. So when COVID hit, we had the time ticketing. We had to do that because you had to control and regulate the amount of people. We could not exceed 25% capacity in the museum, although it's 185,000 square feet. Do the math. It's not a lot of people. And so we did time ticketing. It was decided to leave time ticketing in place. I'm going to be honest with every single one of you. Do not get stressed out about the time ticketing. You can show up at the front door of this museum anytime you want and walk in, and you will get to come in and visit the museum. To compromise, since we're on a military foundation, we have a gate. It's an entry gate. It's got a sign up there that says, proceed to parking. Now, if we have lockdown because of, I don't know, you name it, some force protection issue, we can close the gates. Barriers come up, we close it, because your own Fort Belvoir, which is a military government installation. However, you do not have to go through security to get here, and you don't have to pay for parking, nor do you pay for the museum. And so it's open access and open kimono to get here. So don't let the ticketing. Reason we use the ticketing, Trudy, is so the foundation, have an accountability of folks who come through the museum. We count multiple ways people coming into the museum, but that way I can prophesize to you, being truthfully honest, reach out to you, share information for you, and ask for your support.
Perfect. Does the museum have a relationship with the museum at West Point?
Great question. Okay, so there's multiple museums there at West Point, one in particular that you're probably talking about, and then a little bit smaller subset of one. We're going up there, my team and I, the 28th and 29th of May. I've been there multiple times. So our relationship is more from foundation to foundation. It's called the West Point AOG. And so that's kind of their alumni association group, and it's powerful. As you well know, the long gray line of West Point has a lot of committed individuals that support that institution, and so we partner with them. Now, their museum, I would have to check to see if they're in a consortium of museums, but I don't think that's true. I think that's a self-sustaining West Point museum up there, supported obviously by the United States Army. So my relationship with them, to answer the question, is through association foundation partnership. And then, of course, the museum has a relationship with them. And again, I don't know the official kind of connection and terminology of their relationship, but it's not a monetary one where our museum supports theirs with money. And so it's more of a relationship thing. What a gorgeous, absolutely beautiful museum that they have there. Imagine West Point's museum on steroids 20 times over. And that's what you get at the National Museum, United States Army. Very similar layout as far as some of the artifacts, but I'll tell you what, some of the stuff they've got at the West Point Museum are priceless. It's a gorgeous place. So hopefully that helps you out. So it is relationship. I know what's in there. We have a relationship with them. We have West Point cadets come down here all the time, sharing some of our educational programs. And so it's a beautiful relationship, and we got to continue that.
And we have time for one more question,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
I'm going to ask you to slow down for a second. First of all, we are recording today's program, so a link to this recording will be in a follow-up email. But if individuals wanted more information about upcoming events, what website would they go to?
I would want you to go to armyhistory.org. Just type that in and it'll pop up, the Army Foundation. And so you'll also notice if you go in and type National Museum of the United States Army, NAMUSA is the acronym, it will also pop up, and they're nested websites. And so you go to NAMUSA, you can jump over to the foundation. You're at the foundation website, you could jump over to the National Museum website. Our address is 1775 Liberty Drive. 1775, that's cute, isn't it? 1775 Liberty Drive. That's Fort Belvoir, Virginia. Fort Belvoir, Virginia. I have to put my spectacles on because I've gone blind in service of my country. Belvoir's zip code is 22060. 22060. You Google it, it'll pop up.
Perfect. And
Yes,
before I
ma'am.
turn it back over to Suba, I want to say thank you for your time today and thank you for your service. Suba, I'll let you close it out.
Hey, Bert, thank you. The things that came out on chat was your passion and way you present this, and that comes through in your presentation. Thank you for that. You
You're welcome.
put up the Memorial Garden. Is that supposed to open up in about a year's time, you said?
No, sir. So we've started the fundraising on that. And
Okay.
so again, with other efforts, we've had to slow it down, but we have all the plans done. We have all the surveys done. The ground is prepped. I could literally start building that tomorrow, but I've learned lessons here. In the world of fundraising, a bird in hand is critical, which means I will have money in hand before I start that project, because we don't want to fall short with something as important as that Soldier Memorial Garden. So we're looking for some large sponsors that support that. I cannot wait to get it done. I will not leave this foundation until it's done. It's not my legacy; it's the Army's legacy. We need a place in which to memorialize. The beautiful museum does that, but this is a special place, and so I would anticipate construction starting no sooner than 2 years from now, maybe a year, depending on how the fundraising goes and our capacity. But we've got some other obligations we're trying to take care of. Again, as official fundraising for the United States Army, everything we do goes back to this museum in support of the Army. And so again, that ebbs and flows. I'll give you a prime example, and then I'll stop. We had Hugo Giannini, and he was a soldier in the 29th, and he was on the lead assault into D-Day, got separated from his unit. Well, what was his day job? He was an artist. And so what did he do? All good artists draw. He started sketching. And we managed to get his sketches at almost $500,000 and donated those to the United States National Museum of the United States Army. One of a kind, priceless sketches that you'll never see anywhere else. And we facilitated that, we, the foundation, on behalf of the National Museum of the United States Army, and quite honestly, on behalf of the nation. And you'll be able to see those, one of a kind. And we did that in time for the 80th anniversary of D-Day. That's only one of countless examples, Suba, of the impact that the foundation has. And so we need people's support in any way that you can support, whether it's your time, your treasure, or your talent. So we appreciate everybody's support. We appreciate AARP's support to us and allowing us to do this and help get the word out.
Okay. Before I close up, I do want to echo what you said about diversity. I'm one of them. I came here as an immigrant from India. Brightest moment was when I became a citizen during the bicentennial year. 4 years later, I'm graduating from officer training school as an officer. Never thought I would do that. And wore the uniform for 25 years proudly. We all serve proudly, depending on, it doesn't matter if you're in the Army, Air Force, Coast Guard, Marine Corps, Navy. We're all brothers and sisters in arms. And if you see a veteran, thank them for their service, because they have. So, Burt, thank you so much for today's presentation. We truly appreciate our partnership with you. So we'd love to get your feedback on today's program and ideas for future programs. So you'll be receiving a follow-up email with a link to a survey. Now, Tuesday Explorer will continue next week. We will have the virtual tour of the Marine Corps Museum right up the road on 95. Trudy will also tell you next week where that's located. In the chat box, you'll see a link to register for next week's program. So until next time, we encourage you to stay curious and keep exploring. And my salute to Burt.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for your service. Hoorah.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Have a
See you
great
next
day.
week.
Okay.